A very good day to all of you. I'm Norshahida Hassan from Malaysia, and today I'm going to present a paper entitled Identifying the Difficulties in Learning English Language Speaking Skill for Pre-University Students. Okay, first of all, there is one question that needs to be answered, the big why. Okay, given a situation in one speaking class, the instructor asked questions to the students, but nobody answered. So the instructor can't help but to assume maybe the student, they were being rude, or they just want to ignore me, or they don't even have any motivation to speak. So, as for the introduction for this paper, we would want to see the definition, the speaking skill first, yeah? Okay, it can be seen on the slide that speaking is very important in second language learning. Despite its importance, speaking has been overlooked in schools and universities due to different reasons, like more emphasis on grammar and essays and unfavorable teacher-student proportions. So the problems that the students face is that they cannot remember anything to say, and they do not have any motivation to speak or to express themselves, as mentioned by Rivers 1968 and Lai and Ahmadi 2016. And the students, they often have nothing to say, most probably because their teacher had selected a topic that is not appropriate, or they are not familiar with, and they do not have enough information or to prepare for the presentation of speaking. And it is difficult for students to answer when the teachers ask them to tell things in a foreign language. So in this case, it's English language, because they have little opinions on what to say. So, therefore, the objectives for this paper is to identify issues, difficulties, and needs of pre-university students learning English speaking skill. We are going to determine the students' perceptions on the significance of their motivation level to develop English speaking skill, and we are going to identify the difficulties of pre-U students experience when they acquire English speaking skill. Okay, as we know, English is the second language in Malaysia. So we have been learning the language since preschool to the primary, to the secondary, pre-university, and later in tertiary level. So this paper is focusing on the pre-university students. Once these students enter the pre-university level, it is sad to say that they do not see the importance of learning English anymore, as they need to focus. They think they need to focus on other core subjects such as maths or science. So it is sad to say that there is no push factor, as the grades of the evaluation for the subject, for English subject in pre-university level, will not be added into the students' cumulative grade point average, or CGPA. Now let's look at the literature review part for this paper. Okay, as I mentioned just now, the pre-university student, they see English as not as important as other subject. This is mentioned by a research done by Ganapati and Gui in 2017. And then there is no push factor compared to what they learn when they learn the SPM 1119 in their secondary level. Okay, for your information, SPM means Sijil Pelajaran Malaysia, and the 1119 is the code for English language. Okay, where English SPM 1119, the students are required to pass. Once Other studies done by in 1996 showed that the students, they were shy and they were afraid of making mistakes if they speak in the language. And Wenqi, Wu and Yan and Marek 2011 and Suleiman in 2020 mentioned that lack of motivation contributed to why the students perform poorly in the speaking. Okay, and then Abdullah, Hussein and Ismail in 2019 mentioned that students' low self-esteem also contributed to the factor. Okay, now let's look at other researchers on the challenges among ESL pre-university students in speaking skill. Alright, the challenges among ESL pre-university students in speaking skill, as mentioned by Leong Ahmadi et al. 2017, the students mentioned that they had difficulties in speaking the targeted language due to lack of motivation. Cheong and James 2010 mentioned that the students, they do not see English as an important subject anymore once they finish their secondary school level. And limited practice among themselves also contributed to the challenges among the ESL students, as mentioned by Abdul Aziz 2007, Azlan Zakaria and Mat Yunus in 2019. Ismail 2008, Abdul Aziz 2007, Bilun and Kroman 2019 mentioned that the students, they did not use English in their daily life, and the language anxiety experienced by the learners originates from the learners themselves, school instructional practices, and social and cultural influence, putting them linguistically and psychologically isolated from English language use. And now let's look at the literature review on the motivation in learning speaking skill. Okay, Azlan Zakaria and Mat Yunus in 2019, in their research, they found out that some inability to speak due to low self-esteem. And then Bilun and Kroman 2019 mentioned in their paper that lack of motivation among the students make them not be able to speak well. And Abdullah, Hussein and Ismail 2019 mentioned that the students, they felt anxious around others who speak better than them, and they are scared being laughed at, meaning that they do not want to make any mistakes or their peers might laugh at them. So we move on to the methodology used for the research. Okay, this study applied a quantitative methodology, and pre-university students, they were given a set of questionnaire, and in the questionnaire, they were asked about their viewpoints, their needs, and their level of motivation during their English learning speaking classes. Okay, later, the data from the questionnaire was then analyzed using the statistical package for the social sciences, or SPSS. Now, let's move on to the findings of the research. Okay, as for the findings, we have categorized the data that we receive into three items. Okay, there are English language speaking perception. The second one is confidence item, and the third one is the personal control. As for the English language speaking perception, there are five main factors that the students answered. Okay, it can be said that there is no negative perception about the skill itself, but the students, they admitted that English or speaking is a vital skill in English language, and they admitted that they enjoyed themselves in the speaking class, and they believe that speaking in English can generate income later in the future due to the fact that English is the international language. However, the students, they did mention that it is difficult to speak due to problems in grammar and syntax and sometimes pronunciation. And they also admitted that one of the reasons why they are not good in speaking is due to the fact that there's no practice at home, and therefore it hindered the speaking process. Now let's move on to the confidence item from the data. Okay, the students, they admitted that they were lack of confidence when it comes to speaking. And they said that they were lack of self-confidence and motivation to speak the language. They felt anxious to speak outside the classroom, and they felt uncertain to speak in front of their classmates, especially those who do better than them. And they felt intimidated when speaking with their lecturers. Maybe they might think that the lecturers might detect the mistakes that the students make. However, they felt that if they have enough speaking skill, they will do okay in the speaking practice or presentation. And the third item from the data is the personal control. Okay, as for this one, the students, they admitted that they were in control of their learning process. It is good to know that the students admitted, they mentioned that if their grades were bad, especially in speaking grade, they would strive to improve them. And then in order for them to improve their speaking, they would engage talks with their friends, and they would seek help from the instructors if they need any help, especially when it comes to speaking. As for the summary of the findings, we have found out that the students, these pre-university students, they were anxious and uncertain to speak in the public, yes, but that did not hinder them from enjoying their speaking class. In other words, it can be said that these students, they did not have a negative perception on learning the speaking skill. And it is good to report that students would do their best in order to get good grades for the speaking test or presentation. Despite the fact that pre-university students pay little attention to their English speaking ability, it is safe to say that they are driven to succeed in this area, so that classroom can be improved and made more conducive to learning. So it is crucial that both instructors and the students pay attention to students' perception of their English language speaking abilities. In addition to the pre-university students' assessment of the English learning speaking skill, it is vital to assess their motivation, personal control, and academic grade related needs. So some strategies and approaches can be used by instructors to catch students' attention and boost their speaking motivation. And lastly, for the recommendation for future research, we think that more expert studies on the demands and the requirements should be carried out, and maybe other studies on how to prevent students from being unmotivated. And maybe we as instructors, we could come up with interesting activities to attract the students' interest in speaking. For example, the use of technology in the classroom, because as we know, we are teaching the youngsters and they are very familiar with technology, as these students are the digital natives. Okay, some examples that we can have is like having a platform, like a live streaming platform for them to do the presentation. That would be great as their peers, or maybe the families at home can watch them presenting, and then the parents or the family would be very proud of their son or the daughters. Okay, and that is the end of my presentation for today, and thank you for listening. Goodbye.